The Olympics this year has been full of controversy over transgender issues. It looks like this is another example of go woke, go broke. The controversy started with the opening ceremonies. People have been outraged at scenes that appear to be mocking Christians. The program had several instances of drag queens. Here's a man with a beard, wearing a dress, and performing. Then they are dancing seductively with children. I find this really disturbing. Why are the children there? One moment has someone riding in on a white horse that looks like the angel of death. This clearly seems to represent the passage from Revelation 6:8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. His name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And then they showed this scene. It appears to be mocking the Last Supper of Jesus, depicting it as a table full of gay people and drag queens. Then this strange blue man shows up dressed in his underwear as the platter on the table. This is a French actor. Here's a video of some of the other weird stuff he does. For some reason, this guy never seems to be wearing any clothes. This is starting to get weird. I want to look at this photo, just so you understand how disturbing this is. Here's the bearded lady that was dancing with the kids earlier. Then, if you look at this other guy, I've blocked it out, but you can see his junk completely hanging out of his underwear. This looks like someone showing his genitals on live TV. I thought this was illegal. Why isn't the White House investigating this? I'm sorry, but this does not look like an accident. I believe they knew he was showing full frontal nudity. That's wrong. It's illegal, and it certainly should not be happening while making fun of Jesus Christ. Someone posted this picture on Twitter, and Elon Musk retweeted it with the message, breezy. Fact checkers are now claiming that this man was not showing his genitals. Instead, they claim that he was wearing stockings and that the stockings were ripped at his crotch. So everyone was actually seeing an optical illusion. That was just his skin showing through the stocking, not his actual genitals. I don't know about that explanation. I've looked at the picture. It looks like his genitals to me. I don't know if you understand how stockings work. If they're ripped up to his crotch, there's nothing stopping his genitals from falling out. What's extremely concerning is when you look at the broadcast, there's a child standing in front of him. Why are there children standing around all these scantily clad adults? And why did they put this little girl standing right in front of the man with his stockings ripped all the way up to his crotch? This is really creepy. If I had a daughter, I would not let her within 1,000 feet of a man wearing stockings ripped up to his crotch. The artistic director is an LGBT activist named Thomas Jolly. He has now come forward with an apology, claiming that the scene was not intended to depict the Last Supper, but instead was a random feast. Really? I think he's lying. You can just look at it. It was clearly making fun of the Last Supper. In fact, we know they are lying because you know the fat person in the middle of the picture? That is a lesbian named Barbara Butch. I'm not making this up. Her actual name is Barbara Butch. She posted this on her Instagram saying, "Oh yes, the new gay testament." She posted the NBC broadcast next to a painting of the Last Supper. So the Olympics is lying to us by saying that this was not an attack on Christians. The performer said it on Instagram. This is outrageous. People have been furious. There are 2.4 billion Christians in the world. People across Twitter have said they are boycotting the Olympics. A telecommunications company named C Spire announced they are pulling their advertising. They posted on Twitter, We were shocked by the mockery of the Last Supper during the opening ceremonies of the Paris Olympics. C Spire will be pulling our advertising from the Olympics. There have been reports that people are not showing up to sporting events. Olympic organizers have slashed ticket prices to try to fill seats. Hotel rooms are empty. Out of the Airbnb listings for Paris during the Games, around half of them are vacant. So with all the athletes and their families and coaches and all the normal tourists to Paris during the summer, half of the Airbnb listings are sitting empty. That's incredible. There are reports that the streets in Paris are empty. Figures compiled by the French Association of Master Restaurateurs say that July table bookings were 20% below what they normally are. And in the neighborhood around the Eiffel Tower, business has slumped by up to 80%. Maybe the reason tourism is down around the Eiffel Tower is because there's an angel of death riding around on a white horse. The Olympic Committee has been claiming that this has been a successful and profitable Olympics. But I think they're lying. We will probably never know the truth because there's a lot of accounting tricks they can use to try and hide these losses. But when you're hearing stories about empty stadiums, it's hard to take the Olympic Committee seriously. In fact, we know they're going broke because they apologized about the opening ceremony. Businesses don't usually apologize for things unless they're hurting financially. You have to ask the question, why was this seen in the opening ceremonies at all? Why would you hire an LGBT activist to create the opening ceremonies for a sporting event? Shouldn't this be about sports and history? Why instead create a ceremony about religious and political issues? In fact, if you look at the Olympic Charter Rule 50.2, it says, no kind of political, religious, or racial demonstration or propaganda is permitted in any Olympic venue, site, or other location. Why would they create an opening ceremony in direct contradiction of the Olympic Charter? Do not think that I'm pulling out some random obscure rule. The International Olympic Committee, or IOC, strictly enforces Rule 50 of the Charter. They hand out flyers to the athletes that threatens that they will take disciplinary action for any protest or political messaging. It seems like they only enforce this on certain political issues they don't like, because they are certainly displaying political messaging around LGBT issues, and I don't see any disciplinary action. Why is that? The controversies in the Olympics continued with women's boxing. The issue of biological men competing in women's sports has been something we've been debating for a while now. The public has been outraged that it's so unfair and essentially destroys women's sports for biological women. The IOC promised that they reviewed the issue and have updated their rules so there would not be any unfair issues. That turned out to be a lie. The world was shocked when a female Italian boxer, Angela Carini, went up against Algerian boxer Amain Khalif, who is a biological man. Amain claims not to be transgender, but a different category called DSD, or disorders of sexual differentiation. This means that when the baby was born, the parents were not sure of the sex of the baby, and so they raised it as a girl when it had the XY chromosomes of a biological man. People claim there's a difference between DSD and transgender, but it seems kind of arbitrary to me. Is it just a timing issue of when they decide to raise the child as a different gender? What is the specific time frame that's allowed? Is it the day of birth? Is it within 1 year of birth? Within 10 years of birth? What is the arbitrary day they decide makes a difference between DSD and transgender? Because I think the cutoff can be whatever they want it to be. Let's think about this. We don't know the exact situation of Amain Khalif, but what normally happens with DSD is a baby will be born and their genitalia will be small or disfigured in some way. And so the parents decide to raise the baby as a girl. But other than the deformed genitalia, that baby is a boy. So if that's what happened to Imane Khalif, and we don't know this for sure, but if that's what happened, it means that Imane went through puberty as a man, has the height of a man, has the musculature of a man, has the testosterone of a man. Whatever label you call this person, Imane Khalif is not a biological woman. This person even looks like a man. Boxing is a sport where being a man creates an enormous competitive advantage. Men can punch on average 2.5 times harder than women. That's a big difference in boxing. I don't understand how anyone can look at this situation and call this fair. This is a biological man beating up women. In America, we call that domestic violence. Normally, you would go to jail. At the Olympics, apparently, they give you a medal. To be honest, I find women's boxing a little problematic anyway. Why are we letting girls beat each other up? But now, we're letting biological men beat women up. I think that's just wrong. Imane Khalif beat Angela Carini after only 46 seconds. After being declared the winner, Imane Khalif thanked God for the victory. I hate to break it to this person. You didn't win because of God. You won because you're a biological man and you cheated. On Friday, Imane Khalif won the gold medal match, beating all the other women in the weight category. This means there's a biological woman out there who worked her whole life to get to the Olympics and lost the opportunity to get a medal because it went to Imane Khalif. If this wasn't bad enough, there's a second person with the same situation. This is Lin Yu-ting from Taiwan, who also is considered DSD and to have XY chromosomes. This is another biological man boxing against women. Not surprisingly, they are also winning all their matches. To show you how bad this is, here is Lin Yu-ting pinning a woman against the ropes and hitting them in the back of the head. It's illegal to hit someone in the back of the head because it could kill them. Here you can see the referee just letting it happen. Apparently, Lin Yu-ting is now getting favoritism in judging. How is this allowed? So let's go back to the original plans from the IOC. The IOC promised that they were going to check these athletes to determine if it was fair. What was the test that they did? This is IOC Communications Director Mark Adams talking about how they did their evaluation.
Just to remind people, this is not a transgender issue. This is absolutely not a transgender issue. These women were born as girls. They are registered as female. They have female passports. They have competed for the last 6 or 7 years in senior competition. They've won bouts and they've lost bouts as women. So for us, it's very important that we give them the support, particularly at the moment. I think if anyone would put themselves in the position of those two athletes who are being ridiculed and attacked, even death threats in some cases.
Let's go back and listen carefully to what he said.
These women were born as girls.
He says they were born as girls. Not really if they were born with an XY chromosome.
They are registered as female. They have female passports.
He says they are registered as female. They have female passports. What? You are deciding whether they can box based on what their paperwork says? They could be lying on their paperwork.
They have competed for the last 6 or 7 years in senior competition. They've won bouts and they've lost bouts as women. So for us, it's very important that we give them the support, particularly at the moment.
Did you notice that he did not mention a single medical criteria that they looked at? Now, we don't know exactly what was used as a criteria, but it seems like they did not do a single medical test to determine if they were men or women. How is this fair? It seems like these two people got to simply say that they identify as girls, and the IOC let them beat up the women. The statements from Mark Adams are confirmed by the official statement released by the IOC, which reads, "As with previous Olympic boxing competitions, the gender and age of the athletes are based on their passport." This is craziness. How can you determine someone's sex by looking at their passport? A lot of countries let you put down whatever you want on your passport. That doesn't prove anything. I can put down that I'm a woman on my passport. I guess that means I could go to the Olympics and beat up some women. Does anyone see the problem with this? The statement from the IOC goes on to claim that these two boxers need to be allowed to compete as a matter of human rights. That just makes me angry. What about the human rights of all these women who got beat up? What about their human rights? Why are we selecting two individuals to get special treatment at the expense of everyone else? To make matters worse, the International Boxing Association, or IBA, issued a formal statement condemning the IOC's decision. They announced that in the previous 2 years, they had disqualified both these people from competing with women because they determined they were biological men with XY chromosomes. In their testing, both athletes were found to have competitive advantages over female competitors. Why is the IOC ignoring the findings from the International Boxing Association? I want to be clear about what happened. We have two sports organizations. The IBA performed medical tests and determined these two athletes could not compete against women. The IOC believes that no medical tests should be performed. They think that medical tests violate their human rights. Instead, the IOC relies on legal documents. How can the IOC promise safe competition for women and at the same time perform no medical tests? All we have to do is look at the results to see there is a problem here. The two people who are beating all the women at the Olympics are two biological men. That tells you there's a problem. And have you noticed there are no biological women trying to compete in men's boxing? Why is that? Because it only benefits them one way, for biological men to compete against women. One thing that was tried in the past was to create a separate transgender category, but it failed because nobody signed up. But since these two biological men are winning all the women's boxing fights, the great irony here is that the women's category has become, by default, the transgender category. There is no more women's category. Women have essentially lost the ability to win at the Olympics. Let's hear from Mark Adams again, talking about this issue.
Testosterone is not a perfect test. Many women can have testosterone which is in what would be called male levels, and still be women and still compete as women. So this panacea, this idea that suddenly you do one test for testosterone and that sorts everything out, not the case, I'm afraid.
What is he talking about? These are the levels of testosterone between men and women. They're not even close. Is he considering the testosterone of Amain Khalif as one of those high testosterone women? Because it seems highly suspicious.
As the president of the IOC said yesterday, if someone can find a medical consensus, what is a man, what is a woman, we are happy to work with it. But until then, we have competing ideas and we have to work with what we have, and we have to work with the eligibility rules as they are.
He says, if someone can come up with a medical consensus to what is a man, what is a woman, what is he talking about? I just gave it to you. XY chromosome is a biological male. XX chromosome is a biological female. This is not that difficult. Why can't these people answer the simple question, what is a woman?
But I think we're all agreed, I hope we're all agreed, that we're not calling for people to go back to the bad old days of sex testing, I think, which was a terrible, terrible thing to do. And I'm sure we all agree that that is not the way forward in this situation.
No, we don't agree. That's what we want. We want sex testing. We want a doctor to look at each athlete and determine if they're a man or a woman. And spare me your indignation that this is too intrusive. Every athlete at the Olympics already goes through medical examinations to determine if they are doping. They already do this. Competing as a biological man in a women's category is just like doping. Just add it to the medical evaluation they're already undergoing. If they have XY chromosomes, they should not be competing against women. Let me be clear about this. They can determine the athlete's chromosomes from the blood they are already drawing to check for doping. There is literally no impact at all to the athletes to add sex testing. Mark Adams is lying that this is even an issue. Now, if all of you think this is as crazy as I do, I have to say, I tried to warn you about this. I made a video that the president of France is secretly married to a man in a dress. If you think I'm crazy, check out the overwhelming evidence in my video. I'll put the link in the description down below. This is the same president overseeing these Olympic Games where they're making all these decisions based on LGBT politics. Listen to what I said 2 months ago. So now we have the Olympic Games coming up in 2 months in June. Guess where they're going to be? In France. And the Games are going to be overseen by French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife, Brigitte. So as you watch the television and you see these women's medals be given to biological men, I hope you realize that it is absolutely a legitimate question to ask whether your president is having a secret sexual relationship with a biological man. This is not just some controversy at the Olympics. This is affecting you. Look at what is happening in the UK right now. A man posted on Facebook his frustration over transgender issues, and he was arrested by the police. Here is video of his arrest.
Hampshire police would realise how ridiculous this is.
Because someone has been caused, obviously, anxiety based upon your social media page. That's why you've been arrested.
The police arrested him because someone has been caused anxiety based on your social media post, and that is why you're being arrested. It's a good thing I don't live in the UK, because they would probably arrest me for this video. Let's look at what this man posted on Facebook. It's the trans flag. And when you put the flags together, it looks like a Nazi swastika. That's the reason he's going to jail, because he posted a trans flag. It kind of seems like he has a point. These trans people are acting a little like Nazis. Here's another arrest in the UK. This is of a pastor that was arrested for reading the Bible on the street.
Christ is Lord, he died for our sins. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten.
He was reading John 3:16. Why is it that the words in the Bible are so radical, so threatening, that just speaking those words made the police arrest this man? Why are Christians such a threat that the government is starting to put them in prison? And it gets worse. After the offensive opening ceremony of the Olympics, 6 Christians rented a bus to drive around Paris with a message, "Stop attacks on Christians." They were all arrested by the police. This is video of them inside the police van being taken to jail.
So, as you can see, we've just been taken into the police van, where we're right now being taken. The whole citizen road team on the ground is going to be taken to the police office, to the police station, where they want to file a report. They found some kind of reason why we cannot have this van over here. We did everything within the rules. We asked if there was a need for permission. It seems like it's obviously about the message. It seems like it's an ideological attack against Citizen Go. So we'll keep you updated. We'll let you know what's happening right this moment as we're being taken away as criminals.
Let me repeat, because I don't think people realize what is going on. You just saw a video of them taking these Christians to jail, and their only crime was to say, "Stop attacks on Christians." Another controversy of the Games is the conflict between Israel and Palestine. If you remember, 11 Israeli athletes and coaches were killed at the Munich Olympics in 1972 in a terrorist attack. In Paris, the Israeli athletes have been receiving anonymous emails that threaten, "We intend to repeat the events of Munich 1972. Now, imagine you're an athlete. trying to focus on your competition, and these are the emails you are receiving. Do you remember Mark Adams, the communications director of the IOC? He was asked directly about this. Would he comment on whether security had been augmented for the Israeli team? He refused to comment. He simply said, "Rest assured, there is very good, very strong security." Excuse me? That's not good enough. He should be saying that they will do whatever it takes to protect Israeli athletes. End of story. It is completely unacceptable that he so flippantly dismisses their security concerns. And then Mark Adams focuses a whole press conference on how he is protecting LGBT athletes. The difference in response is shocking, and you should be very concerned. I believe that all these things are connected, and you people better start waking up. They are mocking Christianity, arresting Christians, abandoning the Israelis, forcing trans ideology on everyone, and beating up women. It's all connected. I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people don't realize. Mark Adams is a communications director of the IOC. But do you know what else he is? If we look at Mark Adams' Twitter profile, it says that he's also the communications director of the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is the same organization pushing for a socialist global world government, where they claim you will own nothing and be happy. You will own nothing? That's communism. Not only that, it turns out that Mark Adams was also the best man at the wedding of the current UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. It's no coincidence that all these people are connected. This is a political ideology they are pushing on you through the Olympics. They are using transgender issues as a way to silence anyone who speaks out against the government. If you post the wrong thing in UK, you are going to jail. If you're a Christian in France, you are going to jail. If you're worried that this is coming to America next, I have news for you. It's already here. This week, Democrat presidential candidate Kamala Harris just selected her vice president. It is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. He's extremely radical.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
He says one person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. Excuse me, but you can keep your socialism to yourself, thank you very much. My neighborliness is defined by my right to bear arms. Tim Walz also passed some of the most extreme trans legislation in the country. If you live in Minnesota and your children decide they are trans, the government can step in and seize your children. If you do not affirm their decision, the children become wards of the state, and they will proceed with medical treatment to sterilize them and chop their genitals off. This happens whether the parents consent to it or not. And since the kids are wards of the state, the taxpayers are paying for it. You are paying to sterilize these kids. How come no one is protecting the children? This is the type of radical person who is running to be in the White House. I think one thing we can do to stop all this craziness is to stop paying for all these sex change operations. If you want to go chop your genitals off, that's fine. Go enjoy yourself. But you should have to pay for that yourself. It would be really simple to pass a law that no taxpayer dollars should go to pay for sex change operations. Do you realize that every paycheck you have taxes taken out to pay for Medicare? Medicare covers sex change operations. Why am I paying taxes to pay for you to chop your junk off? You pay for that. I don't care if you're a ward of the state or a grown adult. I don't want to pay for it. There is one more outrageous thing about the Olympics. During the opening ceremonies, the Olympic flag was raised upside down. Everybody saw it. I don't see how this could have happened on accident. How do you raise a flag upside down? Do any of you think this was done on purpose? And what could it mean? A number of people have said that this could be a sign for Satanism. Here's the official emblem of the Church of Satan. The star is upside down. Having things upside down is common symbolism used in Satanism. Now, we cannot know for certain if the Olympic Games have been taken over by a satanic cult. All I can do is speak for myself personally, and I have been involved in a number of flag raisings. I have never raised a flag upside down. It's not an easy mistake to make. First of all, they would have practiced this. And second, when you unfold a flag, the part that gets raised up first is on top. You would have to go out of your way to raise a flag upside down. I have a hard time believing that what happened was an accident. When you combine the upside down flag and the mocking of the Last Supper, it certainly looks like Satanism is involved. I think this all comes back to freedom. I don't care if you're trans. This is America. Whatever you want to dress up as in the privacy of your own home is your own business. What's not your business is what I think about it. You cannot force me to call you a woman when I think you're a man in a dress. You cannot force me to use your pronouns. You cannot infringe on my rights because it hurts your feelings. I don't have to accept having this shoved in my face all the time. I should not have to watch the Olympics and see someone's genitals hanging out of their underwear. Those women boxers should not have to get beaten up by biological men. They have rights, and so do you. Freedom means that you're free to do what you want as long as it doesn't impact anyone else's freedom. Let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you can speak openly about transgender issues? You should be able to, because it's called freedom of speech. Someone else's mental illness should not be impacting your life. But I know that people are scared to speak their mind because they're worried about being fired, being canceled, and in the UK, going to jail. Let me ask you this. If I say the words Big Mike, how many of you know exactly what I'm talking about? And yet, we can't talk about it because we might get banned. That's not freedom of speech. These Olympic Games are woke, but it's worse than that. They're trying to take away your freedom. They're trying to make you stay silent while these women get beat up by biological men. I, for one, want to change. I don't want to be scared anymore of the woke police. I want to live in a country where I am free to speak my mind, where I'm free to exercise my rights, where I can live a life free from government oppression. We should be free to explore our passions, free to raise a family, free to do what we want, when we want, without having to ask the government for permission. We get the best achievements when we bounce ideas off each other and share our thoughts openly. I want to live in a free world where every voice matters, every dream is valid, and every person can shape their own destiny. The Olympics used to stand for that. Now they've gone woke, and that's why they're going to go broke. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think that what is happening at the Olympics is fair? Let me know in the comments down below. If everyone can do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I am so close to hitting 200,000 subscribers, so go ahead and hit that button down below. Also, I don't know why, but my channel struggles a lot with my videos getting demonetized. Maybe it's because we talk about the truth. If you find my videos helpful, consider signing up for a monthly membership on my free speech website, wolvesandfinance.com. For $6 a month, your support helps me to keep making these videos. I'm Zach from Wolves and Finance. Thank you for watching.